Hello and welcome back to Jesse's Vintage Garage, and we're in a second segment here of working on the motor for the 56. And this is I'm not sure what video what number this is going to be offhand, but anyway, in this segment we're going to work on putting the left side bearing onto the flywheel assembly, and then tightening it up to the left crankcase half. But I want to address something first before we get too carried away. So I'm going to set this off to the side for a moment, and then we can talk about it. All right, the flywheel. Straightforward, this flywheel is a reproduction from B-Twin because I didn't have a flywheel for the 56, and it needed a 58, if you remember right, to make this work with the right side case. All right, so this is a 10-1008 flywheel. It's for 58 to 64 engines because 65, of course, electric start and stuff. Pinion changed. Yep.
Or not pinion, but the sprocket shaft.
Okay, sprocket shaft changed. Yeah, this is sprocket shaft side. This is pinion gear side. Now, we fit the bearings earlier into these. We got them to fit really nice. They just went right on and everything in the last video. But we're coming up with a problem here when we go to mess with the crankshaft, because we used this to fit it with, and this is a good shaft, and this is how you do it. You use one of these extra shafts laying around and fit the bearings, but this isn't attached to a flywheel. So we've got the bearings sitting here on the flywheel, and we come across kind of a problem here with this reproduction.
Way too much clearance, and it'll fall down into that groove. See there?
Maybe not really. Oh yeah, yep, I've seen you do that. But yeah, what's happening is there's too much clearance, like you said, and then if we can't keep this tight with the retaining ring in, which right there, look at that distance between the retaining groove and this.
It's almost thick enough for another one of these. Almost.
And there's like no special instructions with these flywheels when you get them from B-Twin. And when you go to message them or ask them a question, unless you're an actual dealer in parts, they won't talk to you. So we're kind of trying to figure out what to do here. They don't tell you to use a special bearing with these flywheels or anything. So we got to figure this out. And I think we have. What we got here is a different bearing, a V-Twin bearing, and it's a dash 58 bearing, and it talks about how it's for all them too.
But didn't it come out like 73 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I think this is a 73 bearing. And these changed throughout the years. 73 they changed, 81 they changed. These bearing sets go all the way to 86. But they changed bearings throughout the years. So using this V-Twin bearing, we slide it on there. We don't put one of these in the back. One of them.
Don't need one.
You don't need one in the back, but we put one in the front like we need it, and there lines right up with our retaining ring groove.
Yeah. And we still have some play.
And that's what we need. Now, we just recently took this extra shaft and used it with that bearing, and we had the same free play on our right.
Well, we can't hear because I got a piece of wire in there, so it's too short.
But anyways, yeah.
That's because that gap ain't there.
Right. So the funny thing about that gap, and we saw this before, because when I got this bike it was all in parts. The motor was, of course. We saw that in the very, very beginning when we talked about this bike. The bike was all torn apart. It came with flywheels. They had a set of flywheels with it.
But we find out they're 80.
Yeah, they're 80-inch flywheels. So they were going to make a stroker out of this motor, the original person. So I'll show you them here in a second. So these are the flywheels that came with the engine when I got this bike. And here you can see it has a dash 78. We measured it. It has a 4 and it comes out to this distance here, ends up making it 4 1/4 stroke. So this would be the 80-inch flywheels, which would have been neat to have an 80-inch pan head. But and then here's that shaft. This shaft goes all the way to 74 and so on. But you know what's interesting about this is that this has that gap too. So it takes a special bearing. Well, we found out what the special bearing is, and it happens to be this one, but no one ever says anything anywhere.
That's the same way.
And even the parts book kind of still shows shows these all the way through the 74. They show this style bearing using 2 of those thrust washers and then the retaining ring. So I'm not here to tell you how to fix it, but I'm telling you how we're going to fix our situation to make ours work. Anyway, going forward here, we're going to install this bearing and run it that way. But first off, we gotta press in the Timken bearing on this side and spacer. I think I covered most of that. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll mention something else here if I think of something else. Yeah, it's a little bit more here on this flywheel assembly from B-Twin. It does have an S mark on it, meaning Sifton. But in the old days, Sifton didn't really make a bunch of these parts, so it's kind of a well-known name on this. But other thing I noticed about it was it has the -74 rods, which in the V-Twin book here, it does talk about how that part number comes out to be 74-inch pans, 74 and 80. It's the same length. It's just that you're moving the pin out farther and back. You're not getting your stroke out of the longer rod. That's what I'm trying to say. And anyway, the other part is this special bearing, which doesn't talk about needing to use this with the flywheel when you buy it or anything. Doesn't say you can't use original style bearings, because we can, because I showed you that. But the bearing for this bearing here is 10-1274, and it should end up just like that. So if you're having problems with having that gap like we're having, go that route, and that'll be the way to do it. Don't do nothing crazy like leave it out or leave it like that, because it'll flop back and forth, and then this thing will fall inside there. It won't sit true and straight, and then you have a problem. So anyway, so just to clarify on this bearing that we're going with, I just want to mention that this is a part number I ordered, 12-0784. Bearing kit. It comes with the retaining ring and then a new nut on the end. I didn't really need a new nut, but it was kind of a nice way to get that set. But when I opened the package up when I got it, this package, like I was saying, was what the bearing was sitting inside of. So in the description for this, it says 58 to 87 there, and of course this is the 87 and later bearing, like it says here. But it is able to interchange. So, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. I just want to clarify that a little bit more, because I rattled off this part number, which you can just directly go right to this and get it and avoid these other parts here. So, yeah, you can avoid these other parts just by getting that. And you can do that by just going with this number. But the number for the kit is this one here. It comes with that bearing. And you can probably find it in this book too, but in their website, because this is where this is at. This is their website, B-Twin's website. Just gotta find a dealer that sells this stuff. So hopefully that clears that up just a little bit more. So on this V-Twin flywheel, kind of irritates me about the whole thing, and probably other people have ran into the same problem that I'm running into. It's obvious, because they're probably all like this. But that gap, I was thinking that there was totally a problem with his flywheel, and if V-Twin would have just came out and said that, hey, you got to use this bearing assembly with this flywheel, that'd been okay. I mean, it would help out a lot of people. And because when you get a 58 replica flywheel like it states, you'd think that you could use all your 58 stuff for it. So I ended up buying those those cages and all those bearings for kind of no reason, because all I needed was this. And when we go to check this, like I was saying, it does fit in the right side case, and same clearance and everything. And in fact, it might even be it's like spot on to the same. I mean, it looks crazy because it's different. The benefit maybe from this, they went to this in 87, this style, 1987. But you put an 87 part in a 58 part together just doesn't quite logically make sense, because of the fact that, you know, they're two different eras of time, have different engines. I mean, 87 was the start of the Evolution engine, but yet it still carried on. And when we were putting that right case or race in, the right side race in, it goes all the way up to 86 anyway. So I mean, it's kind of funny how that works out. Yeah, anyways, looking back at this though, I mean, this is the V-twin part number, like I said a little bit ago, 10-1274, and then you flip it over, it's got the Eastern information on it. It's made by Eastern, just reallocated by these guys. And it says new style one piece, white and gray, big twin, 87 and present, 24625-80 or 626-87A. And when you go look up this description, it talks about how it's a 86 and 87 and later Evolution. It doesn't say nothing about working with a 58. But when you go to order this part number from V-twin, it talks about how it's a 58-58 bearing. I mean, it's just misleading stuff, and I'm just trying to straighten it out for everybody and stuff. So, but it ain't gonna be a big deal running this bearing in there. I mean, like I said, it's got a full length roller. It's gonna go across the whole section there instead of having all these different rollers. Other than that, then you got your thrust washer spacer thing. So no big deal. I'd have to actually look at an 87 book and 87 to 99 book and see what that looks like. I have a parts book for a Softail over here. Maybe I'll look at that real quick. See what that looks like in the print. Alright, this is a 99 Softail book, Evolution engine, and there's our bearing, our race, and then the keeper. It doesn't show that spacer, which we're going to need for the 58 flywheel. And over here we got 24, 18, and 23. Okay, so 24, there it is. There's that 24626-87A, white and gray, meaning standard, and then it goes to oversized in different colors. 23, there's the race we put in, 24600-58B. I believe that was what it was. No, that was the oversized one. Okay, so that's the oversized one, and then I guess they changed it to the standard one being a -93 here. So we put the 58B, but it was a different part number in the front there in the case. It was a standard size one. And then of course the snap ring, or the retaining ring. But there's still a lot of similarities going on here in this engine compared to the panhead that we're working on. Like the left side bearing here, it's real similar. It's a 90-28 though. They changed a little bit and 65 and going on, but and so on. Cam side, they got this bearing here is the 90-58, which starts in 58 and goes all the way to 99 here. Yeah, it's kind of cool how these parts lasted as long as they did. They worked good, so they left them. And then in 2000, of course, it changed when it went to the for the Softails anyway. When I went to the twin cam B, 99 got the twin cam and all the Dyna models and stuff, and the FLHs and stuff. But anyways, that's a whole different story and ball game. So anyway, just trying to clear up some stuff here on the 58 here. So yeah. So anyways, hopefully it all makes sense there on that, and then we're just gonna go ahead and keep moving forward here on getting this flywheel going. So before we flip it over and start working on the left side, I want to pay attention to this right here. A lot of these gear side pinions, they have a hole in here for the oil travel galley here, and we want to make sure that we install the set screw that belongs in there. And we need to not just leave it like it came from the factory. We need to actually use Loctite and seal it tight, because you do not want this to leak. If this leaks, you'll have no oil pressure, because the oil's coming through here and coming out this hole here. If it goes out that hole too, it just dumps into the cam cover. So we're gonna install that now. Here's some blue Loctite. Put it in as tight as we can get it, because it will stop. before it gets to this hole here.
We brake cleaned it first.
There we go. Now we're ready to move on to the left side. Alright, so we got this flipped over and we have it on the left side now up, ready to start working on installing the bearing here. And we did have this thing checked for trueness on a truing stand. And it comes out pretty good. This ended up having, what were you saying?
A little bit under 1/1000th, and the other side is a 0.5
So it's really true. I mean, like, as I mean is like parallel.
It's really close.
A lot of parallels going on here. This part to here is
The run
good.
out is, yep, good.
And then, of course, the two halves are good, and the other side. So we had that done, not really locally, but a well-known place. So here, local, close to us anyway. So anyways, yeah, we're gonna move on to installing the bearing now, because now we know for sure that this new product is good to go and should not have a problem when we get to the end here on round. What do you call that?
Assembly.
Out around or
Run out.
Run out. That's what we're looking for. Here we go. We're gonna get ready to install the bearing into the left side of the flywheel, and we got it sitting up here on our box. And we need a special tool to do this because we don't want to damage or mess with the truing of this. Because if we bang it on there or press it on there, the flywheel will move, and then the truing won't be proper no more. And this is a balanced flywheel. I don't know if I talked about that yet, but you can see that it has dynamic balancing holes in it. So they had to spin in, must have had it with weight, so it has some sort of balance to it. And well, anyways, here's the tool to install it. We got the handle. We have this part we got to thread onto the sprocket shaft first, and then we slide the bearing down across it, and then we use this to press the bearing down in. We got two different ones that came with this, depending on how close we get, how much distance we need also. So anyways, we got in this nice manual here, it talks about the entire procedure, so we're going to kind of go over it without like reading it word for word. But starting off, it talks about how we got to install this onto the sprocket shaft, and we have to tighten it onto there. And then I can't find my little rod that goes inside here, but this big Phillips screwdriver right here slides right in there, nice and nice. All right, so then talks about once you do that, slide the bearing over the tool so that the small bearing end faces up, of course, like this, small end up.
Wow, just fits.
Yeah, it just does. And then I started off all crooked, so then yeah. Then we slide our special tool down.
Okay. Put this on it.
We could probably, it doesn't talk about that spacer yet. Oh yeah, install this small bearing spacer.
And then put that. Yeah, so yeah, well, you don't hurt the cage.
Oh yeah, the bearing. And then our sleeves. And then you either want to put that in there to make the difference, or you just use this and thread it all the way down. Oh, we're going to have to because there's no threads there. All right, we're going to get that going. And check out some more steps here. Okay, so in the instructions here, it says to install the small bearing spacer, number 4, which is that one there. Goes between the two Timken tapered roller bearings. Then after that, it says, and the sprocket shaft spacer, number 1, which is the one that goes against this inside this seal here. So we have both of them in there right now. The bearing is starting to go down. This is starting to engage the taper, and this one's sitting right above it. So we got a long ways to go. So we'll get to the point of having this all the way down, cranking on this the entire time, and we'll come back. All right, we got it all the way down, and the bearing still moves and stuff. That's great. And then it talks about how leaving the flywheel in the vise with soft jaws, but this worked out really well. You were able to hold this still while cranking it down. So anyways, it says leave it in the vise. Install a left-hand crankcase assembly over the crankshaft and slide the outer bearing, number 3 and 199, over the pressure screw with its small end facing down. So we're going to be putting this bearing in next, and so on.
This all dissolve in oil.
Yeah, but we want something in there before we want to be back in there. So yeah, we want something there for a pre-lube.
Where's the other bearing?
It's right here.
Okay, put that back in there.
Install the left hand crankcase assembly over the crankshaft. Slide the outer bearing over the pressure screw with its small end facing down. Install the tool sleeve over the pressure screw and seat it against the bearing. Then install the tool driver into the pressure screw and turn the driver against the sleeve and press the bearings tightly together. Just like this.
Okay, let's go.
Alright, so we got the spacer in between the two bearings.
Now we got to get this square.
Put that square, and then we're going to start our process here.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to put this on there too, aren't you?
Oh yeah, so it doesn't damage the bearing when we go to press it in. Alright, we just got the left crankcase assembled here, and we got the bearing pressed in with our special tool. And it says here in item 12 here, or section 12, shake the crankcase half to check for a small amount of end play, or play in the crankcase bearings. A small amount of play should be present, indicating that the bearings are not preloaded. If there is no play, or if the flywheel does not rotate freely, remove the bearing and start over by putting a 003 shim in. Well, this special Timken bearing set is actually a precision machine set from Timken, and it has all that stuff figured into it. So the spacer that goes between the two tapered roller bearings, and it's all figured out. And you usually don't have to worry about putting this in unless you have some wear or something. And anyways, because you want the tapered roller bearing to be on its race very nice and straight. You don't want any sort of slop. So if it rotates, then you know you have clearance. If it doesn't rotate, you have bind. And this will open up when it gets warm anyway. Things will grow. So just want to talk about that. So we have good rotation, and we're ready to go on to some more stuff here with getting it all together. We're ready to install this retaining seal here. It has a lip. We have it oiled already, so it's gonna be nice and fresh oil going there on that seal. You have a special tool to install this too. It takes something like this. This is made by Colony. It's kind of nice.
It's backwards threads.
Yeah, I think that's what it was left. Yep. Then this works with both aftermarket and standard factory retainers. 2318-1 special tool.
There it is.
All right, we'll check all this stuff later, as when we do have the engine halves brought together, and which is coming up next year. I think we'll be able to do that now. There we are. This part of the case is all assembled and ready to go together now, and we did check to see if we have timing marks and stuff, and they're in there somewhere. Yeah, there's one.
And there's the other one. That's the one for the timing light.
Yeah, so now we're ready to flip it over and install the right side. All right, so going on forward from here, we just got done pressing the bearing down and stuff, and we got the left case on there and all tightened down. Going on with the steps here, we have remove the engine from the vise, then support the engine so that the pinion shaft faces up, and we're ready to do that. Install the inner bearing washer, both bearing assemblies, and then we're ready to put all the right side stuff in and put the other half on. It then goes on and install the new lock ring, which we're doing anyway, and then apply a coat of non-hardening gaskets there. We're not going to do that yet because we might have to take this apart again when we work on the the right side. We're going to end up having to maybe, this is the new flywheel like we talked about, and the cam cover is a used one, of course, and the bushing may need to be replaced. So we'll find that out in the next, maybe the next video, because we won't get that far here. So let's go ahead and flip it over and then get the right hand side all together. All right, so we have the bearing installed here. We talked about this earlier. This is the style bearing we're gonna go with. We have the thrust washer there, and then the snap ring installed there. And there's good free play there, enough to be right in spec, and it doesn't wiggle and wobble around. And then the next part here, then there's a note here. It talks about alignment studs. The studs installed in step 19 properly align the case halves. It must be installed before installing the other studs. We talked about this before, alignment studs, but we're going to put some emphasis on it. So an actual alignment stud is a stud that goes in these bottom two ones here. And alignment stud is actually one that goes in kind of tight, like so. A non-alignment stud would be like this one here, and it kind of just like a lot of free play. So to have the case halves properly aligned, we need to install these three first, and then the top one. And then there's actually another one in this picture here. It talks about actually it says here, the four stud bolts, 4 and 11. So here's the picture. 4, we got one going to the top center. And then we have these two going into here and then over to here. So these are alignment studs. They're number 11 there, through here, and then over to there. So then we get those in, and then we can go from there putting the rest of the studs in. So we're gonna do that real quick here. So we got the two crankcases halves together here, and we're gonna show before we put all the other case hardware in. We're going to show you the end play we have here. So you got to make sure that end play is the left and right movement of the crank.
Free play.
Free play, yeah.
Right now I got it zeroed out.
Yep.
It's all the way back. You ready?
Yeah.
We got 1.5 thousandths.
Awesome. That's really good. All right, let's get finishing up putting all the hardware back in. We got the bottom end here sitting in our stand, and we have all the case bolts all tightened up, and then they're even. The studs are well centered in the nuts here. Here's the 57 and older style crankcase breather. Now we're going to be wanting to run we didn't put the 58 one on. I know this is a 58 liter right case, but we should probably use the 58 one, but we want to use this because we're going to be running a belt drive primary, and we want to hook a hose onto this and put like a breather or something on there. We don't want it, because you can't on the other one, because the other one looks like it's a big round circle and you can't do nothing with it, and I'm getting oil all over the place. So that's why we're wanting to do it this way. I guess this kind of comes in on this video, getting to let the crank flywheel assembly into the halves. And I hope you enjoyed everything. The next video we got coming up for this one, we'll continue working on this, and we will put all the gears in the other side and load all this up. The gear chest there, we'll load that up. Put probably, it depends on how far we get, but building this motor is going to take a little while. So, and I don't want to have these videos like super long, but we're looking pretty good here. Okay, so finishing up here with this, I just want to show the nice smooth spin of this. And you can see that it's nice and quiet, and it's rotating nice. We just got the dial indicator off the other side, and over here our run out is 0.001, and that is the window because it's a real tight tolerance. 0.001.
This is a half.
And
this is a half.
A half?
Half. The one over here was 1.
Oh, that's right, when you were talking about that earlier. So
when we had it checked.
So we're sitting pretty straight, true right here. And the run out is of course the the wobble or the
elliptical move.
elliptical movement of the shaft here. And then our end play. That's the other thing. I can move it a little bit. I just kind of showed that in the other section there, and that was like
noise.
It does make a little, yeah, and that according to the 58 to 65 flywheel, which we're running, is 0.0005 to 0.006, and we're at 1 something.
1.5.
1.5. So we're well within that big window there. So hope you enjoyed everything. I think we're ready to move on to the next segment when we start getting the gears all in here and stuff. What we'll probably do is
check timing cover for the pinion and the camshaft bushings.
Yeah, right. So and we're probably going to have to replace that because the cam cover is used and this is all new, so it might not even line up. Go to try to put it on. So make sure you look out for that video coming up, and we'll see you again soon.